welcome to the Capital Discussions OptionVue Education Series. I'm Tom Nunemaker with our guest, Jeff Plimpton from OptionVue. Before we get started, a quick disclaimer, the Capital Discussions is not a broker-dealer or an investment advisor. This presentation is for educational purposes only. We don't know your situation and have no way of knowing what level of risk is appropriate for you. We're not making any specific trade recommendations. The risk of loss in trading options can be substantial, so please be aware of all of your risks prior to placing any trades. Hypothetical computer-simulated trades are believed to be accurately represented. However, actual profit or loss may vary due to market factors such as liquidity, slippage, and commissions. And once again, this is for educational purposes only. So with that, I'll transfer the ball to you, Jeff, and welcome. I think this is the first time you've presented at Capital Discussions. Jeff and I go back a long way. We both worked at Shared Mentoring for many years, and both left that company to do other things, and it's nice to be back together, Jeff, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Tom. Yeah, this is wonderful that we're still in touch and we're still talking and all the things we've gone through together for all these years. It's, awesome.
Okay.
I think I'm good to go. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Oh, very good, very good. Will you be on, Tom, during this, or?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's nice to have you there. What can I say? You know, I'm going to try to go from the very beginning, you guys, which isn't going to be that exciting for some of you that have been on the software on and off for years. But I'm also going to try to bring up some items. Keep in mind, I haven't been on this software for 6 years. Things that were new to me, I'm going to share with you guys, and maybe some of you have forgotten. If you've been on, especially if you've been on a really long time, I actually go back to 2000. Things you may have forgotten or not seen for a while. So that's how I was thinking of approaching this. From the very beginning, go as far as I can. And then I would like to end up with OpScan and talk about OpScan a little bit because I just kind of think that's something that's not brought up very often and is a pretty powerful scanning tool. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead and jump in. To bring in data, you click on the globe in the upper right-hand corner here. I'm sure a lot of you guys know this, so just be patient with me. We are now compatible, and I didn't know this when I came back here, with interactive brokers, with thinkorswim. eSignal was always part of the mix. And, of course, we offer our own QuoteVue data as well, which is coming from a company called Quad. Let me close this. I'm actually using QuoteVue today. Again, stuff you guys know. To put in a symbol very quickly, just highlight where you want the symbol to go in, hit the insert key, type in whatever you want to put in here, and the symbol will go in. To add columns, sort of the same process, kind of figure out where you want the column to go. I'm going to go pretty quickly through this, you guys, because I think a lot of you already know it. So again, hit the insert key, right-click up here at the new column and pick from a list of variables. I'm not going to add anything here. I kind of have this set up the way I like it. If you want to get rid of a column, just hit the delete key. You can also use edit, insert row, insert column, delete row. If you want to put in a new heading, again, highlight about where you want the heading to be. Maybe under stocks, you want to put in different sectors. Hit the number sign. Type in whatever you want the heading to be, and there you go. Done. I wanted to make a comment. We've had a couple releases lately, and my colleague James and I were doing a trade on Fossil the other day, and the graphic analysis came up, part of it came up inverted. It was a corrupt asset file, and Len actually, from my recollection, made it easier to delete an asset file. You can right-click on the asset, left-click on Delete Asset File, say yes, you do, open the matrix, and it should clean up the asset. I hope that helps some of you. Everything that's come up lately, not about modeling, could just be a corrupt asset file.
Hey, Jeff, I had a quick question while you're on this screen. When you inserted that header bar, that text doc, there's a letter A over on the right. Does that mean anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tom. We can alphabetize any section here just by clicking on the A. Was that a question that came up, or did you just bring that up?
No, I just wondered. I didn't know myself, so thanks.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to go ahead and jump into a matrix here. One thing I had never seen before, this is at the monies are sort of centered, but if you just click under here, it'll center the at the monies automatically. Didn't know that when I came back. You can also, a lot of things are about, I think, Tom, you brought it up with Jim recently, about kind of segmenting. This was already this way when we can click on an expiration date and we can look at that expiration date only. What wasn't here was now you can look at the calls only or the puts only, which I thought was interesting. So I have a condor here to analyze. If I'm going to put on a condor, I'm going to analyze it all at once. But if I had this as an existing position and I'm thinking of getting out of one side or the other, now I can just look at the calls of the puts, which I thought was pretty cool. You know what? I just realized I didn't go into modeling, global modeling. Real quickly, up under View and Default Models, again, I'm sure most of you guys are aware of this, but when you're going to model on a global level, you're going to go up under View. I have my slippage set to none so that it's automatically going to put in a midpoint between the bid and the ask. The Yates model, most everything else here is as I would like it. I have heard, maybe Tom, you could verify this, that John Locke's people like to combine call and put skews. I do not. I look at them separate. Is that true?
I've heard that too. I personally don't combine those, especially since I trade index options and there's plenty of strikes, so I don't think I really need to.
I agree. I don't do it either, as you can see. The only time I change slippage, potentially, slippage is about the amount of give when you're executing a trade, especially since Tom and I both are trading indexes. There's a lot of liquidity. If there's low liquidity and you're back testing something, you might want to go to small or moderate to make it a little more accurate, right? You're not always going to get in at the exact midpoint between the bid and the ask. But I think in this case, when we set a limit order, we'll get in. So I'm going to leave that as it is. Default auto strike, again, global. I have everything set to large. Like you were saying, a lot of strikes. I like to have all of them. I put natural levels, but you guys can change it to whatever you want here. And I do look at weeklies, so I have weeklies in here. I have leaps in mostly because when I speak to all of you, some of you do use leaps. And the last global setting is the format. I'm going to show you a shortcut to formatting, but I'll leave this all to you. I don't really have a comment to how you might want to format. But if you're going to change this, just click Set Default, 1, 2, or 3. You can have 3 different formats. Just click OK. Okay, now we can be back in the matrix. The one other comment I wanted to make, since I brought it up already, is if I want to change a column without going into any of these buttons, just right-click on the column. One thing, I know it's not much of an issue on the RUD or the SPX or the NDX, but I certainly look at open interest. 50 contracts. If you have a trading rule that I used to have one at least that I don't trade under, that has under 100 contracts, I want to see it. So you can right click and change a column. That's kind of a shortcut. Let me go back to Delta. Since I usually put these high probs on between 6 and a 10 Delta. A question I got the other day was, how do I figure out what the option price is going to be at if I'm setting a stop? Because you can set a stop on a vertical spread, for instance. Just double click at that strike, brings up this window. Tom, do you use this at all? Have you ever seen this? Projecting the underline?
Yeah, that's I use it more for spreads, not for individual options.
Agreed. But anyway, you can if you want to predict out, let's say it's, I don't know, 10 days, it'll automatically figure out the theoretical price for you, and you can set your stops that way. And this person had been on it for a while too. So this, again, I'm just trying to bring these things up for you guys, or maybe remind some of you. I actually have a trade on here I'm going to use rather than. And let's go into the analysis. I know there's been a lot of talk. It seems like a lot of talk in your community about weirdors lately. I know Amy's, I've got a lot of emails from her lately, a couple of adjustments on some weirdors. So I put one in here, and I just wanted to go through the analyze window with all of you. The trade itself will always be printed out at the top here. Now, weirdors have a lot of legs, 6 legs, so it's all printed out automatically. We can change the number of lines up here. This is a trade that's probably going to be on up to 30 days. I think that's one of her rules still.
I think she starts about 45 days out and likes to take it off with about 2 weeks before expiration. So she's in about 30 days.
Okay, that's a little different than I remember from Dan Harvey, so that's interesting. So we'll start this normally at about 45 days then. If this one's 60, as you can tell. If you want to change any of these dates, you can right-click down in here and change the dates to whatever you want to look at. In terms of these lines, you're going to want to go to the status window, and you're going to right-click. Oh, looks like I was already alerted. Right-click, click on New Alert. I usually use percent gain and loss. Obviously, you can put your own numbers in, whatever you want. Kind of the standard seems to be 10%, but maybe not on this, not on something you're going to be in for a while. So we can set gain and loss lines. This might be where you put a stop of some sort, like you were saying, Tom, on spreads. Step through dates, volatilities. I think those are the only two I've ever used, step through dates and volatilities. Kind of interesting to see it just from a volatility perspective. I know there's been a lot of talk about the volatility modeling lately. Len put in these new ways to view the number of days that you're looking at here. See how it changes the volatility numbers. All I did was click on this ellipse here to look at this. And of course, it's used pretty often with earnings also. What I was used to, go ahead, Tom.
Just real quick, could you go back to that last screen? Those little buttons, the 1, 5, and 10, could you maybe explain those a little bit?
sure. Jim actually went over them with me the other day. These are just for viewing. They are not changing the CEV modeling. They're pulling in 1, 5, or 10. I think he said he inserted them in the CEV table, up to 15 CEV numbers.
So is there any reason you would normally look at those to help your analysis?
I think that they kind of help you see the number of daisies pulling in. He said OptionVue uses 15 CEV numbers to keep track of how the options of a particular asset respond to price movements in the underlying. The 1, 5, the new set of buttons showing 1, 5, and 10 was inserted next to the CEV table. This is to allow the user to view all 15 CEV numbers. So constant elasticity of volatility is something that, to my knowledge, unless Andy's done it recently, just kind of heard, was only in this software. So he's kind of expanding on the CEV numbers.
Yeah, I heard the CEV and OptionNet Explorer is a number you have to set manually, but I don't have any first-hand experience, so that's just from what somebody told me. It's nice that OptionVue just calculates it for you.
Yeah, agreed. And to my knowledge, at least till recently, I don't know what Andy's underlying CEV modeling is, but I'm sure Len has put in a lot of detail here to try to make it more accurate. I was going to say that in terms of volatility changes, this is a negative vol trade. Once I feel comfortable with the numbers, whatever they might be, I might put in a -2, see how it affects the trade, -4, see how it affects the trade. Now, I'm a bit of an old timer in this, so maybe I'm being a little old-fashioned here, but the CEV modeling and the horizontal skews and vertical skews do work automatically. So, but I still like to manipulate my analysis, so that's what I do. The vertical lines here, you can manipulate them. You can look at profit and loss or yield. You can set targets, as we've already gone over. I think you guys are well aware of how to use the wand. You use that, don't you, Tom?
I do, and you can also click drag on the bottom axes and also on the y-axis to change it. And I think if you right-click on the y-axis, you can actually set the interval that you want to look at.
Right. Actually, all I did was right-click anywhere in here.
I'm talking about for the vertical axis.
Yeah. Do
you right-click on the vertical axis?
I don't think so.
Here, let me try to mine.
All right.
Yeah, by right-clicking on those vertical numbers, like the -34% or something, like right there, right-click. Yeah, when your mouse changes, yeah, like that. Now right-click.
Oh, there we go.
You can change that interval manually.
Interesting. As you can see, you guys, I'm still getting back into this too. So this is good for me. And 1 and 2 standard deviations are set up down here. Anything else? Anything else you think I should touch on, Tom? You're obviously as versed on this as anybody.
One thing, when you're putting in the T plus 20, T plus 40 on the lines, if you right-click on those, instead of setting dates, you can put in the T numbers, like T1, T2, T3, and the plus, you don't have to actually use that. So you can put in T20, and that'll put in the T plus 40 or in that case. So you don't actually have to use the plus symbol when you're doing that.
Very good. See, I didn't know that either.
Just save the keystroke.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, very cool. There's so much in here now. I know you, by the way, in terms of the reconcile column, you brought that up the other day. When you guys add to a trade, when you analyze a trade and you add to it, I'm not going to add to a weird or, hold on. But if you were going to add to this, let's say add a put spread or something, you would want to use the reconcile column. Right, Tom? You brought that up the other day, too. You would want to add letters to this column or numbers to group things together.
Right. We had also mentioned about if you have multiple reconcile letters or numbers, to be able to pick combinations of them in the existing positions.
Yeah, as of right now, that is impossible, but I thought it was a good idea, and I know you brought it up the other day.
Yeah, I think somebody at OptionVue, I forget who it was, said that one was thinking about adding that. So we're all hoping it's sooner rather than later.
I totally agree with you, especially with the amount of with this volatile market these days and everyone hedging. It would really be awesome to take it a step further.
Yeah, it's nice to break up your trades into smaller pieces and see how each piece is performing and take off the pieces that aren't, making money anymore. But it's much easier to do what-if analysis if you have more granular control over that.
Completely agree. I don't want to forget. Oh, there was one other aspect. I'm going to go ahead and convert this trade into my capital discussions account. There's a new button up here that especially if you have several trades on the same asset, you can actually click on this button up here, and it'll kind of take the trade out for the time being. And you can work in the same column, and you can put it back too. Had you seen that, Tom?
I knew it was there, but I haven't personally used that. Is there a good use case for that? I'm sure there is, otherwise it wouldn't have been added.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Some of these things, I don't know how much utility there is. I mean, maybe there's utility. If you have a lot of trades on and you did put on a couple trades that day, it might be nice to be able to take it out of there and be able to use the column again. This button also clearing trades, clearing existing positions. Buttons I hadn't seen.
I use the clear trades all the time when I'm doing what-ifs and then I want to get rid of them all.
Yeah, you probably want to use this pretty often.
Yep.
But that button I hadn't seen. To the price chart. Let me take this out. I'm going to kind of group the price chart and the volatility chart together here. Any questions back here? Between Tom and I, I'm sure we can answer them. Jim said he'd answer your questions as you type them out.
Oh,
Scott if you had a trade earlier, let's see what you...
Yeah, Scott said the take trades out for today, let's see before and after the adjustment on a single trade. And Jim said some of the features you're showing apply only to the Pro version.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I am in the Pro version. Okay.
Maybe you can show what things are in the Pro version versus the non-Pro version.
Really, value sheets is the major thing in the Pro version.
Isn't the volatility modeling a bit different, like the control you have over it?
No. The question is there more control in the Pro version than the regular version?
Is it just the value sheets? Is that the only thing you get for the Pro version?
There's one other spreadsheet capability, but yeah, there's really nothing more to the Pro version.
Okay.
Okay, let's jump into the
Jim
price.
says the modeling is the same, but there's a manual SKU available in the Pro version. And Jim says you have a button to delete today's trades in the Pro version. I thought that was in the both versions. In the Matrix, there's that button to put on all the reverse trades of what you have. On the button bar on the left, on the second row.
I'm not sure. Where do you want?
Over on the right, under the close, those 6 buttons. They're little graphics. It's the second row on the left.
On the Matrix, or?
Yeah, on the Matrix, right underneath where it's the close button, there's 6 little icons or buttons underneath that.
You lost me over here?
Yeah, the left one. The second row on the left. No, not that one. The one to the left of that. There, that puts in the opposite trades in your trade column of what your existing position is.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Tom. Talk about expediting things. Let's close it. Dang. Closed. Awesome.
So Jim says you have 6 buttons there, but he only has 5. Oh, maybe because you're looking at a matrix without any trades in it that are converted.
There was still a trade here. Oh, I guess not now. Let me put a trade back in then.
The button's missing right now because there's no trades to close.
There's no trades. It cleared out all the trades. Which this is just a play account anyway. Again, I'm sure you guys have been through all these buttons before, but I'll work from left to right. You can add the volatility chart to the price chart. Blue line being implied volatility. The brown line being statistical volatility. You can use daily, weekly, or monthly buttons. We'll leave it on daily. You can take out a split. Just click on it. Oops, sorry, wrong button. And it'll ask you what the split was. Obviously, there isn't one on the RUT, but just so you guys know how to do it yourselves. Every once in a while, I had one today. We may get a bad data point here. We can correct them. I actually used BackTrader to correct the data point, and I went back over it and I corrected it. I'll just click OK.
So if you correct the data point, does OptionVue remember that you corrected it in the future?
Right. It'll store the point. It'll correct the price chart for you, and it'll store the point. And we have a target button. This would go into a talk on Trade Finder. Well, we can set a target for ourselves as we work on a trade.
So if you set those targets, then do you go to Trade Finder after you set the target?
We would use it for price range and then set a date in Trade Finder. Do you think your guys ever use Trade Finder, Tom? I'm curious.
I know Jerry First does. He does our beginners trading group, so there are people that use it.
Okay. Jerry's still running that group down in Florida?
Hey, Jerry's here, in fact. Yeah, the Traders Education Network, but he runs our beginners trading group.
He's answering for me. Thank you, Jerry. Hi. He says, yes, I am. Okay. Very good. Jerry's, okay, his beginners are using Trade Finder. We're actually using it quite a bit for our earnings plays, for the earnings module. I love OptionVue. Thank you, Jerry. We love you, Jerry. So he does use TradeFinder quite a bit. For the earnings, we're using it mostly for calendar spreads. But yeah, you can set it here. Another thing, by the way, you can click on the price chart, and wherever you click on the price chart, it'll bring up BackTrader to that date. I'm not sure that's that relevant either because, I don't know, I just type in the date. But still kind of cool. Didn't know that.
Didn't know that either.
Yeah. Found that reading over all the upgrades. One thing when we was over there using one, I thought it was pretty cool. He did set up putting it, let me convert this. Putting the screens together for the analysis. How come it's not opening?
Try it on both. That's weird.
That's weird. Someone said it looks like I have a bad data point. Anyway, you can put the screens together, which I thought was a big thing when I was talking about our competitor. Okay, so when we have a trade on, so I knew there was a trade on, we can see where the trade is profitable and where we'll lose money by clicking this button. Those of you that like candlesticks, which I do, you can click that button. Let me switch to a different asset here. If you have earnings reports coming up, it'll mark the earnings reports for you. I'm sure a lot of you have other tools for technical analysis, but this software has quite a few. We can set up moving averages on the top chart. We can set up on the lower charts, whatever you guys like. Let's bring them in. Since Tom was bringing up shortcuts, we can quickly change things down here if we right-click, and we can change this to MACD, the lens volatility indicator, moving averages, kind of some quick changes to the analysis. We can draw trend lines.
Andrew asks, is that a simple moving average?
Yes. And we can change the settings on them too. It does have exponential, but you notice I have all simple moving averages. Which do you use? Tom, do you use simple moving averages?
No, I have a third-party tool from Mark Jurek, and it's called the Jurek Moving Average. It's a paid thing. I use it on NinjaTrader.
Oh, very cool. Okay. I was saying trend lines. Yeah, we can draw some trend lines. They'll stay in there. We can clear them out. If you scroll through assets, you can get rid of assets also. Delete an asset with this X.
Now, does that just delete the price chart, or does it delete the whole asset?
And it's going to delete the file. We could, when you scroll through, here, if you don't want it on your quotes display, you can just click the X here. I did want to.
Jerry had a question.
Sell resistance? Yeah, I just saw that. Let me go back to it, Jerry. I do want to touch on OpScan before we break off. We've been on a while. Tom, do you run into OpScan at all in your group? Does anyone talk about OpScan?
No, I mean, I used to run OpScan years ago, but I haven't paid the $50 a month for it, so I haven't had access to it for quite a while. When we were at Shared Mentoring, we had a pretty decent OpScan library, and I have a copy of it, but like I said, I haven't been able to use it myself, so I could ask people in our group. I suspect there's not a lot of OpScan users.
Yeah, because it does find trading opportunities, and we have probably over 100 custom formulas. About 12 come with it, and it scans the database both for the underlying and for options. The 12 will scan for breakouts to the upside, breakouts to the downside, fat call premiums, put premiums. But Steve Lentz in particular has got a lot of custom formulas, and he's helped me build a few lately because I had to get back into it. But he gave me one for non-directional candidates, which I suspect most of your group is doing non-directional. So we can click go. It should come up with a report. And this would be a custom report. And we might kind of weed out the ones that aren't coming up that often. There's a lot of spiders coming up. I know a lot of us like doing ETFs and indexes. But we can build formulas to find trading opportunities on almost anything. And the other one he gave me recently was for tight markets, which I actually used. Let me click go here. The non-directional formula was looking for chronically overvalued options. This one's looking for tight bid-ask spreads. Right, execution is always an issue. I actually found some that were like, 3 cents, just a few cents between. And if it's on an asset that you're interested in, or an index, really nice situation to be in. And of course, there's other rules that come into play if you only trade things, stocks or indexes over a particular price. But with the right liquidity and a tight bid-ask spread, it really helps with the trading. So we have a lot of custom formulas, and maybe it's not something you guys had thought of very much getting into OpScan, except maybe Jerry First now said he'd be interested. But could be a good opportunity to at least take a look at it. Be happy to give people some time on it, share some formulas, share some ideas, and it might help you guys. Yeah,
definitely. I know, like I said, it's been a while for me with OpScan. I enjoyed it when I had it, but it's been a few years now.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where once it's gone, like you and I were somewhere else, you learn to work around things when you don't have the tools. But if you can get access to the tools, it might help with your trading.
Absolutely.
Anything else you guys are thinking about that you've been on the software for a bit?
I just had a little question. Is that I know right now when you go from a matrix to an analyzed chart, every time you do it, it changes to about one of 5 or 6 colors. Is it possible to maybe put that in your preferences to either have rotating colors or have fixed colors? Because it's, some of the colors, like for me, dark blue is really good for doing, like if I'm going to do a screenshot for an article, for instance, it's better to have a darker color.
That might be a good thing to bring up because the colors are rotating because you're looking at different trades. So from the software perspective, it thinks he's checking out a butterfly. I put butterfly. Now he's checking out iron condor. And it's just changing colors so that you can scroll through them with those yellow arrows. That might be a good suggestion to just be able to leave them one color. right?
Yeah, like,
If you're making
if you click on the Analyze,
it'll
come up with one color, but then if you close it and click it again, it'll come up with a different color.
Right, exactly. Actually, it'll change each time. If I delete this trade, let me analyze it first. So it's blue. And we delete it and we put in another trade. Like we're going to look at a calendar.
Analyze again, yeah.
It's going to bring up red now. So we have red, we have blue. If I put in another one, it is saving previous cases. And you can superimpose these cases. Jim said it's saving the previous cases using different colors to distinguish between them.
Right.
But I agree with you. I think it'd be a good idea if I could lock in a color. And that'll be something we can bring up. Jim's been listening, so we can bring that up. Anything else you've run into that might help you?
Pardon me?
Anything else you've run into that might help you? I mean, Len's always looking for ideas.
Well, I think the biggest idea that's come out of our forums is that reconcile column. If you could be able to pick multiples at the same time, that would really help your ability to do what-ifs on potential adjustments.
When you brought that up, when you were doing one of these talks with Jim, I did ask, and I believe that's on his to-do list. Where it's ranked, Tom, I'm not sure. But I think it's a great idea.
Another idea is some people are using ETF options and or underlying to hedge the main index. For instance, SPY options, like say you're doing a SPX Kevlar trade and you want an SPY call to hedge it. One thing you can do in Thinkorswim is have fractional trade sizes. So you can put in 0.1 contracts, and then that's pretty close to simulating one SPY option. But you can't do that in OptionVue, but it would be really neat if you could.
Right. One conversation that's been out there for ages is incorporating two asset files, like one being a hedge. Mm-hmm. Now you're right. You'd have to do it in fractions, like IWM is 1/10 of the Russell. So yes, always been a good suggestion. I don't know if Jim's going to comment, but it's something Len's thought about for a long time. He did put Hedge Finder into the portfolio manager, but blending asset files would be a big plus, right? So we can put hedges in. Jim is emphasizing not a priority at this time, but still a good idea.
Jim said not a priority there because he's already drawn out a development schedule for the next 8 to 9 months.
Right, so. He has, which was made clear to me. But these are all good ideas, and if we work together, we can get them done.
And I know I've seen other companies, they have like, there's an app, I forget the name of it, I'll see if I can find it and send it to you, but where people can submit suggestions and then they have a certain number of votes, so they can vote up suggestions they like, and it helps the developers to know what suggestions people really want. So maybe
is the app customizable for different companies?
Pardon me?
Is the app like customizable for different companies? Like we could use it, so. You could use it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you when I find it. I can't remember who exactly had it, but anyway, that would be one interesting idea, just so you guys could see and the customers know what suggestions there are and what ones people really want.
Right,
Jerry,
prioritizing them. I mean, it's all a marketing issue, right, from a business perspective. And let me say to Jim Hamby, because he just popped up there, Jim, fixing bugs is always the biggest priority because we're a business and we don't want bugs out there. But that's why I showed you how to delete an asset file because, I ran into a corrupt asset file on Friday. But yeah, obviously fixing bugs is always a priority for a software company.
And Jerry had an interesting idea. He said on the analyze detail, have a checkbox for each individual leg to add or delete so you can see the effect of morphing or adjusting a trade.
Well, that's clever.
That's an interesting one.
That's an interesting one.
And then
Jerry's been around a long time. I'm sure he's got some ideas.
Oh, yeah. See, Skip says he would like the matrix button to toggle quotes on and off to get OptionVue to pay attention to the keyboard. I know that's a problem sometimes when I use interactive brokers, and sometimes when I'm trying to put a quote in, the screen is refreshing and overwriting my typing, so I have to sometimes just hit, pause or suspend quotes to freeze the matrix so I can put in trades. And it's also the same problem with the reconcile column when you're trying to pick a drop down. If it's refreshing the screen a lot, then it, for me anyway, it's sometimes really hard to actually pick a drop down because the screen's refreshing and undoing my picking all the time.
Good point. It seems like since I've come back, the biggest problems have been with Mac users too, not even being able to use the keyboard at times. That's why
Windows. Yeah.
That's why I put up the edit button for putting in rows and columns and editing. Been an issue. Mac people are pretty faithful to Mac, so we certainly need to work closely with them too. Are you on a Mac, Tom? I mean, you're a programmer and.
I have a Windows machine sitting next to my Mac. They happily coexist on my desk. So I run my Windows.
I like that you word it that way. They happily coexist.
Yep, and they don't fight, so they don't. but I run Windows applications like my OptionVue and my Windows Server, remote desktop, all with my Windows machine, and my Mac apps are all on the Mac. So I'm not trying to do any emulation.
Okay. Jerry just reinforced the keyboard locking up. I confess I hadn't heard that one much, so maybe Jim will talk about that with the tech people after this. I hadn't had any calls on that, but certainly an issue.
Well, I mean, it's easy enough to stop for me. I just double-click, hit the S, and then it pauses the screen, and then I can do it. But see, Jerry had a suggestion. The Trade Finder filter sometimes gives out 100% probability of profit trades where it suggests buying 589 contracts. So maybe you should have some kind of contract filter, or I don't know how to modify that to make it more realistic.
Yeah, that's based on the amount of money you're giving it. So, I mean, if it says 500, you can knock it down to 5 if you want. The graph is going to look the same.
Or maybe you could add a filter like a minimum contract price or something.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can put in any amount of money you want into Trade Finder, right? I mean, you don't have to give it some huge sum of money. I usually run it with like $3,000, but if I don't want to do that sum of money, I'll change the number of contracts. But no suggestion, is a bad one.
There we go.
There you go. Well, Tom, I appreciate you letting me do this.
Yeah, I think we're out of questions, I think. So thanks, everyone, for your participation, and all the folks at OptionVue that joined supporting in the background. Karen was there. Jim, thanks very much. And especially Jeff for being the guinea pig to actually share your screen and walk through things. So.
Yeah, thank you. And you guys, if you have any questions, I'm Jeff at OptionVue.com, or you want to talk or follow up on anything, especially Jim Hamby or Jerry First or some guys that I don't speak to as often, that would be great. Feel free to email me.
Well, and you can also put posts in our OptionVue forum, too, so that gets some good discussion going on, too.
Absolutely. It's helped a lot lately. Appreciate that, Tom.
Hey, you're welcome. So with that, thanks, everyone, and we'll do this again in about a month, and I think we're going to go back to that 4-person rotation. So I forget who was first. It wasn't Jim.
James?
James.
I don't know.
James.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was James. So we'll have him on probably in December. I'll confirm that with Jim. But until then, happy trading, and between now and then is Thanksgiving, so have a good Thanksgiving next week, everyone.
Yeah, right back at you, everybody. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
All right. Thanks again.
Thank you, you guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.